Guys, I don't know what you all think, but I just don't think he's working out.
No, not a fan.
I know.
I have to say.
I mean, he hasn't even paid our new friend's rent in like a month.
He wouldn't let me wear his clothes.
Rude.
He looks like a guy that owes me money, so
Right?
I'm just not gonna be able to look
I know,
at
and
it.
he kind of smells like that dog food factory.
Oh my god,
You know what I mean?
like elbow.
I know.
It's bad.
Yeah, I'm just not sure he's friend material. Somebody's gotta break the news.
I'm not doing it.
Really? Yeah, I'm sorry. We're gonna have to unfriend you.
But don't worry, it's not you, it's us.
Thanks though. We appreciate your time.
Well, good morning and welcome back. We are in week 3 of our series called Unfriending. And again, I'm David Hennessee. I am your media director here at Mountain Grove. Most of you never see me, and if you do see me, I generally have a t-shirt on and a ball cap, and I'm running around all the time, and they keep me up in the corner up there hidden very, very, very well. But this week, as you can tell by the song that we sang this week, we're going to talk about unfriending. We're going to talk about the people that bring us down and what we should do in those relationships and how we should respond to people that try to bring us down in our relationships. So far, we have been discovering how important it is to have the right friends in our life. Our friendships and our relationships can be a good indicator of the direction of our life. We've said, show me your friends, and I will show you your future. King Solomon said it this way in Proverbs 13:20. He said, he who walks with the wise men will be wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm. So again, if you decide what you're going to do in life, however your friends, what relationships you decide to make, whoever you choose to be around is going to determine your future. We're going to discuss that in great length today, but it's very important, and you're going to start to realize some things today. It's going to be a very tough message for some of us because we have to look at our relationships and start to make judgments about them, and like, do we really need to keep this relationship in our life? So today, as we continue in our series, we're going to discuss a subject that is honestly pretty hard to talk about. Because if we buy into what God has to say to us through King Solomon, then our subject will force us to take a real assessment of our lives. So if we buy into the fact that God says that if we walk with wise people, that we'll be wise, but if we hang around fools, then we're going to be a fool. If we buy into that, then we need to really assess the people that we hang around in and the friendships that we have. Can you be honest with yourself when you look in the mirror, or are you left alone talking about things with your husband or wife and say, listen, our life or my life may not be where I want it to be, and could the current friends or acquaintances be the part of the cause of that problem? Most of us don't think about that. I mean, we get in our situations. Everybody has things that goes on in their life. Everybody. We all have our issues. But a lot of times we don't ever think, we look at ourselves and we put ourselves in this magnifying glass a lot of times, and we spend so much time looking at ourselves and we're like, what have we done wrong this time? I mean, what choice did I make this time? What did I do this time? How did I mess up this time? And we end up a lot of times putting this guilt and condemnation on ourselves and never look at the things around us and say, wait a minute. Maybe this is what's influencing me to be the way that I am. Maybe this is what's causing the problem in my life. So let's get started talking about our unfriending. Let's face it, social media is a dominant force when it comes to our engagement with people. We've talked about Facebook so much during this series, and Jeff has kind of based this whole series off of our relationships that we build according to Facebook. So I'm going to give you some statistics. For most of you that don't know, I'm a web designer by day, so social media is like in my heart a lot. I have to deal with it all the time, and I have to look at it all the time. So these numbers are things that mean something to me, and hopefully they mean something to you. But as of 2013, there were 1.15 billion registered users on Facebook. That's almost 1/6 or 1/7 of the entire population of the world is a registered user on Facebook. 23% of those registered users check their accounts more than 5 times a day. Now, when was the last time that you called your mama more than 5 times in a day? Not me. When was the last time that you picked up the phone and called any of your friends 5 times in one day? Not me. Twitter is another social media thing that's very present. There are more than 500 million total users on Twitter. The fastest growing demographic on Twitter is ages 55 to 64. So now our grandparents are getting on Twitter. Our grandparents are getting on Facebook. If you don't already know that, my mom's on Facebook and it drives me nuts. I mean, she types in all caps. Please believe me, that's one thing that you need to learn. If you're typing, don't type in all caps. And it just stands out like you're screaming at me. And my mom types in all caps. She sends all of her emails in all caps. So when she asks a question, it's like she's screaming at me. YouTube. There are 800 million unique users per month on YouTube. Now this may blow your mind, but it is the number 2 search engine in the world behind Google. Now, you think about Googling things all the time, but you don't really think about when you get on YouTube and you type funny cat video, that's a search engine, and it is the number 2 search engine, and it is bigger than Bing, Yahoo, and AOL combined as a search engine. That's amazing. But there are 400, just take this out, there are 400 billion hours worth of video populated to YouTube every month. 400 billion hours. That is a lot of time wasted. So as you can see, our day is bombarded with status updates that include people telling you every move they make, videos of cats or any other awesome animal, the latest celebrity breakup or hookup, photos of people's families that you have no idea who they are, and those incessant game requests. I mean, I know, I just saw some of you shake your head. How many of you, when you just cringe if you've got a mobile app and you look at your phone and it says you've got a notification on Facebook and you go and you open it up and you're like, oh God, somebody wants me to build another barn. It makes my blood pressure rise just a little bit up every time I see one of those. And really, before they had Farmville, I used to have hair because I pulled it all out, getting all aggravated with people wanting me to build something or give them something or do something. It just drives you nuts. We fill our time with Facebook looking and Twitter and all these other things. We look into people's lives. We're sitting back on the outside. I like to call it stalking because if you see me on Facebook, I've posted a picture of my kids so that people in my family can see my kids. Other than that, I'm very, very rarely on Facebook. But most people get on Facebook, they don't post anything. They don't use it for what it's designed to do. They use it to keep track of what people are doing. You're using it to stalk people, basically. And occasionally we'll comment on a picture just to make sure that people know that we're alive and click like on something. And we never have any real engagement with anybody outside of that. You know, there's people that I went to school with. I always laugh and joke because I went through high school and I was a nobody. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just flew under the radar. I had a bunch of friends and nobody really hated me. And I made it through high school unscathed. And so I felt like I'd done good, but I was just like, I wasn't at the top of the list and I wasn't at the bottom of the list socially. And so I just kind of moved in and out of high school. But those people that I went to high school with, I am shocked that how many people like over the years have been like, hey, be my friend on Facebook. And I'm like, really? Did you ever really talk to me in high school? Why do you want to keep up with me now? I mean, all of a sudden, 20 years later, I had somebody come up to me at a restaurant about 3 months ago and run up to me, and I knew them, and they come up to me and said, hey, man, it's been a long time. And I giggled. I giggled out loud, and I'm like, a long time? It's been 20 years since we graduated high school. What do you mean a long time? I'm like, seriously? We live in the same county. If you wanted to keep up with me, you would have found me by now. 20 years. But anyway, but for real life, I mean, seriously, we call these people friends, but we get caught up. I mean, a lot of times you'll sit there and you'll flip through their Facebook post and all the things on Twitter and stuff, and you realize that there's just drama in people's lives. They fill up the page with gossip about people. There's always a need for something. They want you to do something. Or they're on there and just posting something like, well, I just don't understand why everybody on Facebook hates me. Or Facebook is just so stupid. And they just keep posting all this stuff. And it's like, if it was that big a burden, quit. You know, just stop. I mean, don't buy into the drama. But we see that so much and people get caught up in that. And they want you to get caught up in that. Misery loves company. You've heard that said before. And it is the truth. So there's people out there, just like the song said, there's people out there that are trying to bring you down. They want you to jump into their pool of their misery and be a part of that. Don't do it. The awesome thing is, though, is that finally, after so much time, and you've seen all these people's stuff, and they post so much stuff, and you get tired of it, you just reach over and you look and you find that little button, that dreaded unfriend button, and you just click, and they're gone. No more. No more of the post about dogs. No more post about cats. No more stupid games. No more surveys. No more pictures. No more anything. And you have a big sigh of relief because now you don't have to be a part of that. And the best thing about it is, and the thing that appeases our conscience so much, is they never know that we unfriended them. Facebook don't send them a big post and says, guess what? David Hennessee has decided to unfriend you. They have no idea that you have unfriended them. And that appeases our conscience because, face it, we don't like to deal with people a lot of times. We don't want to get caught in that. We don't want to have to deal with people's problems. And we don't really want to face up sometimes and say, hey, what you're doing is driving me bonkers. Now, Facebook is a whole different set of circumstances because people just get on there. But in real life, think about it. When you've got a friend or a family member that is driving you crazy, you get on the phone and you're like, oh, hey, girl, how are you? And you sit and talk to them like you're best friends. And then you hang up the phone and you're like, oh, my God, if they call me again, I'm going to pull what's left of my hair out. God, is my mama going to call me another time today? Seriously? Why couldn't? Because, you get that phone call and then you hang up. Next thing you know, your mom's calling back again. You're like, hello? Like, why didn't you ask me 5 minutes ago? And you get all aggravated and stuff, but you don't want to really deal with it. You don't want to stand up and say, Mom, please, write down a list. Make a list of all the questions that you have. Call me once a day and we'll take care of them all at one time, not 25 times during the day. We don't want to do that. So just imagine if your relationships were that easy. You think about it, you could just, all your friends and families that aggravated you could just turn them off, click a button. You could deal with your problem with them and get all calmed down and cooled down, and you could say, click, okay, now I want to be friends again. Now I want to talk to you again. I have had enough time away from you. But you never really deal with the drama. But we know it's just not that simple. People are people. And each of us comes with our own story and our own certain unique set of issues. The problem is that sometimes we let someone else's issues determine the direction of our lives. We let all the drama that is going on in life distract us from our own lives. So that's a big issue. We get caught up in all these things. We get caught up in all the people's problems that are going on. And sometimes, for some crazy reason, we feel like that we have to carry that burden. We feel like that we have to be the person that carries all that load for somebody else. We have to deal with that drama too. And it just comes right on into our normal everyday life. And it just pushes us down and it keeps pushing us down. And we never really make a step forward in our own lives because we're dealing with somebody else's junk. So here is the $1 million question. If you're taking notes, is it possible to fulfill the call of God on our lives surrounded by the wrong people? Is it possible to fulfill the call of God on our lives surrounded by the wrong people? Listen, this is going to take a lot of thought. I know it's early on Sunday morning. We all got up this morning, and brain may not be engaged yet, but listen, this can change your life. Paul tells us in 1 Corinthians 15:33, it says, do not be deceived. Bad company corrupts good morals. The Amplified Version of the Bible says, do not be so deceived and misled. Evil companionships, communion, associations, corrupt and deprave good manners and morals and character. Now, how many of you remember your mom telling you, I don't want you to hang around so-and-so because they're going to lead you down the wrong path. I don't like those people. Honey, you don't need to date this person. We just don't like her. She's going to cause you to get into trouble. She's going to cause you to do something that you don't want to do. Or the same way around, talking to your daughters. I have a daughter now, so I have to think about that. But think about, we don't want you hanging around that boy because he's going to try to corrupt you or do something or make you do something that you don't want to do. Your parents told you that. Every one of us in here, if our parents were a part of our life, they have told you that at some point in time. because they know that if you hang around a certain child who displays this wild and crazy behavior, that most likely my child's going to start displaying that wild and crazy behavior. You know, you see those kids that go to daycare and they go to school, and you see a kid that'll just throw a temper tantrum and just lay down on the floor, kick their feet and scream and whatever, and you're going, God, why are they doing that? And then all of a sudden you come home and your child is doing it, and you're like, where in the world did that come from? And then you think, oh, wait a minute, they got it from watching little Johnny do it. But as a parent, we are so quick to pick up on that. We are 100% like, you don't need to be around that person. Nah, you don't need to be around that person. But when it comes to our own lives, we're clueless. We're absolutely clueless about the relationships. We don't even think about the relationships that we keep in our own lives. We are so quick. Think about the direction of the things in your life. Think about people. Think about family. Seriously, think about family. But think about the friendships that you have in your life. Are they constantly trying to tell you, hey, you don't need to do that. No, you don't need to pursue that. No, you don't need to do that. And they're just like, no, you can't do that. And they just keep bringing you negative? Or are they the people that turn around and say, well, did you hear about so-and-so and what they're doing and how bad it is and it's just getting worse? Or are they always constantly beating you up or trying to distract you or influence you from doing what you feel like God's called you to do? This is very important. Our lives will mimic the relationships that we keep. So now take a quick inventory of the relationships. Think about all the interactions you have in those relationships. Do you find yourself in the midst of drama all the time? Listen, there's people that I've hung around with and I have been acquaintanced with that I have realized that, listen, there is just a certain level of drama that comes along with being around this person. They just keep it. They like it. They thrive on it. I don't thrive on drama. Matter of fact, it drives me crazy. I don't like it when people cry. I don't like funerals. That stuff just eats at me for some reason. And there's nothing wrong with those. I'm just saying that kind of drama that's in this life, I just have to back away for just a minute. It just overwhelms me. Are you surrounded by people that continue to talk about how bad it's getting or if it's getting worse? Did the people you call friends, did they build you up or encourage you or constantly tear you down? When you try to focus on the things of God, do they try to distract you with their own problems? Right now, if you're starting to think about that, that's sending off a light bulb in some of your heads. It might give you a little bit of heartburn. It's given me heartburn before when I've had to sit and think about these things because it's tough. It's tough. We've had relationships in our lives that we have built, and relationships are work. They are seriously work. If you want to keep a relationship going, it takes a lot of effort. But it's tough to think about those people that you've invested time in. There's things that they're family members that they're family. And you think, wait a minute, well, it's family. It's a little different. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. Because those family members may be the very ones that keep driving you down in the ground. There are relationships that you have worked hard to maintain in your life. And right now, you may be realizing that some of those are the most toxic things in your life. So what do we do? How do we approach our relationships going from this point forward? I'm going to give you a couple things, and this is not everything that there is out there because I don't know everything that there is out there. But these are some things that help me in life as I go about moving forward and going the direction I want to go. First of all, number one, you need to determine where you're headed. Now that may sound like the stupidest thing you've ever heard in your entire life. Like, I don't know where I'm going. That's an issue. But where do you want things in your life to be? Do you want a better relationship with your husband? Do you want a better financial relationship in your life? Do you want a closer relationship with God? These are things that you really need to think about. I mean, are you thinking about 10 years down the road if you're a young person and you're getting ready in a relationship to get married and are you thinking about, well, maybe I don't want to be in North Carolina. Maybe I want to be doing this. Maybe I want to be a global missionary. I mean, there's all kinds of just different things that are going on in everyone's life. But where do you want to be? What do you want to be doing? What are your goals? Whatever your direction is, that will determine who you need to surround yourself with. Most people don't really think about this. But I'm going to tell you a story, and then you're going to realize, wait a minute, that makes really good sense. But do you realize that Jesus picked his disciples? Now, most of us don't ever think about this, but Jesus didn't let those people that wanted to be disciples just come up and say, hey, I want to be a disciple. No, Jesus went out and he picked the 12 disciples, hand chose them for himself. He knew the direction that he was going. He knew the things that he needed to do. He knew the people that he needed to surround himself with. When you've got extra time, go back in your Bible, look at Luke chapter 9 and verse 57 through 62. You can just write that down. But this is the story, and there's 3 people that come run up to Jesus at one particular time, and they're like, Jesus, I want to follow you. I want to be your disciple. And they just chased after, and Jesus told all of them. If you look at that story, you look at him, he was like, it costs a lot. It takes a lot of effort. It costs you this much to be my disciple. And every one of them turned around and walked away. You'll find that about people. People will sit in church services and they get fired up because they hear a great message and they want to, I want to jump in. I want to be all that message says I can be. I want to do all the things that it says I can do. And then 3 weeks later, they're back in the same point they were before they ever heard the message again. They just quit. Because our lives, our relationships, our people take effort. And be quite honest, a lot of people are just completely lazy. The right relationships will challenge you, and they require you to work, and they require you to listen. Jesus continually pushed his disciples to do and to be who they were called to be. Think about all the times that when the disciples would come back to Jesus, and a matter of fact, like in Mark chapter 10, he sends all the disciples out, and it's just kind of flippantly, we read things like this, but he sent this out, he's like, all right, go out and preach the kingdom, go out and heal the sick and raise the dead. Now, wait a minute. Now, how many of you read that and just read right over it, but then you think, wait a minute, if I'm standing in this circle right now, and Jesus was standing right beside of me, and Jesus said, all right, go heal the sick and raise the dead. Really? That's what you want me to do? I mean, do we ever think about that? He always challenged them. He always pushed them out. He always wanted them to do things that they were not in their human nature meant to do. He always pushed them out there, always caused them to do things that would help them grow. There are going to be moments that when you, with your friends, that are going to be fun and relaxing, but listen, true friends are going to love you enough to speak the truth, and they're going to let you know when you're getting off path. I've got some friends in my life that I call family, and we'll talk about this in a minute, that, listen, when I started into ministry, I didn't know anything. I was Bible ignorant. But now I was hungry. I wanted to know. And I went to every church service. I went to everything that I could possibly do. I would listen to every tape. I would read books. I spent all this time doing all this other stuff. And then I surrounded myself with people that were doing the same thing. We had a common goal. That's what we wanted to do. And I needed that encouragement because it's not easy. A lot of us in here have tried the Christian life. We have tried to move forward, and it is not easy. But the reason it's really not easy is because we're trying to do it by ourselves. And we were never called to live this life by ourselves. Jesus looked at Adam and said, it's not good for man to be alone. We are supposed to have people in our life. We are supposed to surround our people in our life. We're supposed to be surrounded. Because, listen, we're human. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to get misled. We're going to make the wrong decision. We're going to go down the wrong path. And we need people in our life that are big enough and are bold enough to look at us and say, hey, I wouldn't do that if I were you. That's wrong. Don't do that. There's going to be pain at the end of that trip that you're getting ready to make. You don't have to do that. Now, a lot of us here learn by experience, and that's a crazy way to learn sometimes, but you think about it, you're like, I'll just do it myself. and you go out there and you try to recreate the wheel, and you go out there and you just beat your knuckles and you grind and you sweat and you work hard and you feel like you've earned something, then all of a sudden it's gone. We don't have to recreate the wheel. We need people in our lives that will help us. There are people that know how to do these things. There are people that have spent time in this life, that have went through the pain, they have went through the suffering, and I guarantee you, if you take the moment to say, listen, how did you do it? They will help you. Because I know in the back of their mind, they're sitting there thinking, man, you don't want to do what you're trying to do. It leads to pain. It leads to suffering. You can do it this way and be done with it and be over. But sometimes we're just afraid to ask. Number 2, never let your friends distract you from the plan that God has for your life. Once you have determined what you want from life, now you need to make sure that the friends around you are helping you maintain that focus and helping you attain those goals. If you are looking to make your marriage better and all of your friends are trying to always go out and party, or they always try to make you live your life like you're single and telling you to, just forget about her. Just come on. We used to do this all the time. Come on, don't let her pull you down. Come on. Let's just go do it. Don't be wussing out on us. Just come on. Or they want you to ignore your mate, or they're always running down their own mates, talking about, my wife is just so bad. You wouldn't believe she wanted me to actually go wash the dishes the other day, and I was in there watching the football game, or I was doing this. It's time to reevaluate those relationships. If you're looking to be better off financially and your friends are always trying to get you to go shopping, buy things you can't afford, or convince you that it's okay to cheat on your budget, it's time to reevaluate those relationships. Proverbs 22:24-25 says this: do not associate with a man given to anger, or go with a hot-tempered man, or you will learn his ways and find a snare for yourself. Again, surround yourself with people that you will help to encourage you and push you towards and stay focused on your goals. When I first got into ministry, one of my closest friends told me, if you want to be a pilot, you don't want to spend your time learning from a tank driver. Just like King Solomon said, if you spend your time with an angry man, then you will learn his ways and you will be caught in his traps. The reciprocal is true. If you spend time with people that treat their mates respectably and have great relationships, it'll rub off on you. You will learn how to have a good relationship just because of the relationship you have with that person. Number 3, trying to maintain too many friends is dangerous. Proverbs 18:24 says this: a man of too many friends comes to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. Relationships, again, take a lot of work. And if you try to maintain too many relationships or too many friendships at one time, you're going to exhaust yourself. And I'm just going to be completely honest with you. You are going to exhaust yourself. You can't help everybody. You can't be everybody's friend. You can't be there for everybody, or you're going to ignore something. It may be your own children. It may be your own household. It may be your own family. But you have to prioritize and look at the relationships that you have and make sure that those relationships are building you up, that you are building them up, and they're not causing you to drift away from what God has called you to do. Don't try to keep too many friends at one time. But if you have healthy relationships, you will find that no longer do you have friends, but now you have family. I have a few people in my life that if you ask me right now that come up to me and say, how many brothers and sisters do you have? I will tell you that I have more brothers and sisters than I actually do blood-related brothers and sisters. I have some people in my life that I would die for. Because there are some people in my life that have, when I come up through this thing, that they have vested their time in me, looked at me and saw the potential in me, saw the goals that I was trying to reach and wanted to help me get to those goals. They have helped me through the times when I doubted myself, when I doubted the plan of God for my life, when I was in some of the roughest situations. They were there to help me. And I hope that I have been the reciprocal back to them, that I have been there when they needed me. But those people are family. They're no longer friends. Proverbs 17:17 says, a friend loves at all time, and a brother is born for adversity. Friends are awesome. and you need them. You need people in your life. You need friendship. And they will love you. But when true adversity comes, family is what will help get you through. And we talk about it all the time, but we are the body of Christ. We are all linked together. Whether you realize it or not, or whether you even care or not, we are all linked together. We are a family. Each and every one of us. When we hurt, the other one hurts. When there's people in this church that hurt, this church hurts. When we are happy, this church is happy. We should be there for one another. Because family or our brother is born for adversity. When you have times of need and when you have trouble, when everything else seems to fall apart, true family is right there. So let's wrap this up. Please, whatever you do as you leave today, do not ignore the warnings that God's placed you in His Word. Not because I've said them, but because He's said them. Toxic relationships can ruin your future. Healthy relationships can help you attain those goals and help you attain those goals quicker than you ever thought you could. They can get you to a point. They can get you before the right people. Proverbs also talks about that a skilled laborer or a person that works at these things, relationships or work, I'll never get that, but you get skilled enough at relationships. It says that you will be placed before kings, not placed before obscure men. Now think about that. If I become very skilled at my relationships and I become very skilled at being around people, then I'm going to be put in front of people that are going to change my life, decision makers. I'm not going to be in front of somebody that can't do anything for my life, that can't help me. I know this sounds a little bit one-sided as you leave today. I know that this sounds a little bit one-sided, but listen, be that same person when you walk away. Those things that you are looking for in friends and relationships to help build you up, work on yourself to make sure that you're that person. Work to make sure that when people come to talk to you that you're not help run them down or laughing at their dreams, but help encourage them. Now, you may not be the person that's going to surround them and do, but you can help. You can encourage. You can always be there to love and tell them, it's going to be okay. If you're doing what God's called you to do, just keep pushing forward. Keep pushing forward. So don't ignore the warnings. It could be the very thing that is hindering you from having God's best in your life. Evaluate all your relationships you have and determine where you need to start the change. So everybody, let's stand and listen. I want to encourage you today. If you do not have a relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ, it is the best decision that you can make. It will be the relationship that builds upon every other relationship. He is that brother in the time of adversity. He is that brother in the time of need. He loves you all the time, and He wants to help. He wants you to help find your plan, help find your goals, and help you get there. So if you haven't made that decision after service or as they're playing music or whenever, and if it's not after service and you want to come upstairs, when I go upstairs, whatever, I would love to help introduce you to Him, help you start that relationship. Let's bow our heads. Father God, just thank you for your word. Father, I thank you for the relationships that you have provided in our lives. Father, I thank you for family that surrounds and covers us and helps bear our burdens, Father, and helps lift us up and helps build us up so that we can continue our fight and so that we can continue to walk the good fight of faith. Father, as we go out this week, Father, help lead us by your Spirit. Give us that inkling on the inside of us. Help tell us that, hey, wait a minute, I need to reevaluate this relationship. I need to think about this more. And help direct us to the people that will help change us and help make us better and help us reach our goals quicker. Father, we love you.